Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Skip Ashworth. And we're going to be discussing his amazing book, Josh and the Skeleton, Christmas Eve Discovery. That's available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much all online retailers, and of course, you can also get it through the publishing company Author Reputation Press. And if you haven't figured it out already, ARP is exactly who brought Skip to our network today. So if any writers are out there and you have a book that you'd like moved, people, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give. Contact Author Reputation Press and have their wonderful team move it for you. Find out more information on them through authorreputationpress.com. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Skip here on the line. I'm telling you, this has something for everyone, and you got Skip to thank for it. And at the end of the day, he's the expert. He's written it, he's done the research, and he's going to be able to articulate it much better than I ever could. So let's bring him here with us, okay? Skip, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, man?
Very good. It was my pleasure to be on.
Skip, I think what you're doing here is fantastic. I'm loving what this book represents and really just a journey that you've established for your readers. Now, I know we have a lot of information to cover, but I think it's important to start with a little bit more about you and your background. So, Skip, tell us a little bit more about yourself, please.
Well, I've been a teacher and a coach for 50 years. I've taught everything from fifth grade to junior college. I've even interpreted for the deaf in a junior college setting. So I've been around young people all my life, still doing it, and even retirement.
There you have it. Well, listen, Skip, anybody that is an educator or has been involved in that world, you never really stop, right? Whether you're in the classroom or out, the educator in you is always teaching. And I want to take a quick opportunity. So I had a very brief stint in education myself, and I know a lot of educators in my inner circle. So I do want to take the opportunity to thank you for all of your dedication, helping shape and mold the minds of future generations, because educators never get the amount of credit that they deserve for the amount of hats that they have to wear. And you damn sure don't get paid enough. So thank you for everything that you have done and continue to do, helping future generations, man. It truly is something very special.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Skip, without further ado, the anchor is all about your fantastic novel, Josh and the Skeleton, Christmas Eve Discovery. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, it's about a part Cheyenne Indian who lives with his maternal grandparents, but his granddad died the preceding Thanksgiving when he makes this discovery of a skeleton on an old Cheyenne burial ground. It was a snowy day on Christmas Eve, which was uncommon in Oklahoma. And it's in an area of what they call Red Rock Canyon in Oklahoma. And but it brings in the Cheyenne lore of when someone dies and what needs to happen. And they believe that the crow is a messenger. So the crow is a symbol throughout the novel that he encounters, as well as a cardinal. And he looks to get insight, even though his granddad is gone. He still goes to visit his granddad's grave to try to get some direction into how to deal with this problem he's run into in finding this skeleton in a place that he wasn't supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Skip, talk to us about inspiration behind creating this particular narrative.
I had once clipped out of the paper. I always clip out of the paper things that might lead to stories in the future. And there had been actually a truck that had gone off the road, not in the same circumstances that I wrote. And I had put that aside. But then one morning, I just woke up and the first chapter just came into my head And I had taken classes in writing, and they always said that the book takes a character of its own. And for me, that was a lot of it. The first inspiration I had of the first chapter, the outlying information, my own interest in the Native American culture that's big here in Oklahoma. My wife's part Native American, Chickasaw. I'm not. And I became very fascinated with that. But the story, just as far as walking the journey, it took off on its own. I had heard that in classes and things, but I actually did experience it and still do.
Hmm. When it comes to writing, where does that love for creative writing come from? I mean, was this something that you always were doing as a hobby growing up? Were there artists that inspired you? Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm kind of a dichotomy, and this whole book was kind of a perfect storm in that I had entered a writing contest in high school and got second place in it, but I had always done this, and the dichotomy is the creative element of my part, my own self. But I also had this other side that was the teacher and coach. And as a coach, I got very involved in trying to win games and scouting and all that. And my wife would always say, you should write about those experiences. And in my next book, the young person, Josh, does become involved in playing basketball in a kind of a backward sort of way. But my juices flow almost as well when I'm writing as when I'm coaching on the sideline. And that's why I say it's a dichotomy. And the perfect storm is this had been going along for a while, and I've written other starts, as I call them, other books. And my wife challenged me by saying, you don't ever submit them because you're afraid of getting the pink slip, the rejection. I said to myself inside, I'll go ahead and show you. So that's how I finished up the book, Josh and the Skeleton. I guess it's the competitive coach in me that went that way. And I'm glad I did.
People, again, we're here on the line with Skip Ashworth. We're discussing his amazing book, Josh and the Skeleton, Christmas Eve Discovery. Available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much any online book retailer. But also check out authorreputationpress.com and get it directly from the publishing company. Skip, next question here, and really a curiosity for myself with this one, but what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began?
I had actually did a talk with kids from the school that I was at the time when I published the book. And I had copies of it and I signed it. But some kids that I actually coached bought the book. And they didn't particularly tell me, but one of the moms who worked at the school said that her son was not a reader, but when he picked up the book, he wouldn't put it down. And I've had several experiences where, in particular, non-readers read the book and became interested in. That was a reward to me that these type of readers were able to latch on to the book and read it, and it did something for them. Mm-hmm. I have to say that's the ultimate thing. The different encounters that I had with I don't want to limit myself, but young boys in particular that got hooked by it and enjoyed the reading experience for a change.
Right. Skip, that brings up a fantastic segue. I want to know, in your mind, Skip, who would you say is your intended reader, right? Who is your intended audience with this book? And then a subpart to that, what is the main message that you hope that they receive after reading it?
realizing that we have choices in the world, especially as young people, that are not easy choices, especially when we have other influencers that want to weigh in on it that may not be the best people to influence that thinking, and that at the same time that they're inquisitive and willing to explore as they move through life. But it's really intended, now that I sit back and look at it myself, for younger people that are living in a world that offers so many different viewpoints on things, and you might say gives them a center point for their life as to what they want to do with it, where they want to go with it, and who they want to be.
I know that this is not the only book that it's the only book that you've written so far. But people, there is a sequel on the horizon as well. And that's where I want to go next. Skip, talk to us about the next book in the series. And of course, we don't want to give too much away, but tell us a little bit about Josh and the Necklace.
So the necklace is the dangling thing from the last novel or the last book, where he finds this in the truck and nobody knows that he has it, but the crow that is a messenger keeps getting this voice that he hears that says, find her. And he doesn't know exactly how to go about it. And he's running on the outskirts of what to do, but he finds someone in the next book that, like I said, he becomes involved in playing basketball, and the coach begins to get involved in some of his dreams or his things that he's trying to work out, and gives him some direction and in an effort to try to find who the necklace was originally meant for and bring some closure for that person in their life. I'll add one thing in there.
Mm-hmm.
The skeleton was not a Native American, but he was in love with a Native American. And back in the time that the book was set, those kind of cultural things had barriers and the prejudice that existed. And it is an effort to move beyond that part of our society that says that these people stay here and these people stay there, and bridging that gap, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Skip, last question here, and really switching gears, but I'd be doing my listening audience a severe disservice if I didn't ask this next one, because you are someone that has been through the process. You've written Josh and the Skeleton, and you have Josh and the Necklace that's going to be released very shortly as well. From a writer's perspective here, Skip, for any new writers out there listening in, what are some words of wisdom that you can offer to them about the journey they're getting ready to take?
Be true to themselves, and don't be afraid to venture out and let their mind go in the direction that they're being led, especially when it comes to creativity. And also look for a community that will support them in this effort and be a sounding board for them. And this community can be in a lot of different ways. It can be a local writing group, or it can be classes within a structured setting. I mean, I took classes in college, and I got a lot of help from those people. But make yourself available to other authors, other writers, and let them help give you some guidance in what you're doing. But at the same time, stay true to your inspirations, your creativity, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. there's just a lot of quotes that I've seen and say that, you bare your soul and you put it out there in front of other people to look at and have opinions, and don't be afraid of that. Go ahead and do it.
I love that. I love that. Listen, people, so much wisdom in those words. First and foremost, the first thing that he said is, don't rob yourself of your creativity, right? I mean, ain't nothing to it but to do it. And if you're going to go for it, right? And really don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Now, of course, that's much easier said than done, right? Whenever you're in that position through fear of rejection, through fear of whatever the case may be, it's never as easy as those words are, but they are so important. And then the second notion is having a support system around you. I think that leaps much further than the bounds of creative writing. That can be applied to anyone and anything. I love that advice for so many reasons. And people, you know what I love even more? Is we're at the end of the interview now. We have discussed so much information towards his books, and yet we've barely scratched the surface. I'm going to say it for you again just to re-impress it, because you know where you have to go. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, AuthorReputationPress.com, pretty much any online book reseller. Josh and the Skeleton, Christmas Eve Discovery is the book you have to pick up now. But check back in frequently, because Josh and the Necklace is the sequel, and that's set to be released very, very shortly. And of course, you have Skip Ashworth to thank for all of these fantastic gifts. Head on over there today, pick up your copies, a wonderful book to add to your shelf, an even better gift to add to someone else's. Skip, this has been an absolute pleasure. Man, such an honor. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Appreciate you having me on. Enjoyed it.